My digital unit plan topic is called Mes amis et mes loisirs, which means friends and pastimes in French. As we go to the unit summary, we see that the students need to explore the following questions. Who are your friends? Why do you consider them your friends? What are they like both physically and in terms of personality? What types of activities do you do together? What types of leisure activities do people do in general? How do American notions of friendship, leisure activities, and sports preferences differ from the French and Francophone world? By the end of this unit, students will be able to answer all of these questions. The unit is geared toward grades 7th through 12th, beginning French. And here we have a list of the big ideas. So the students will explore notions of friendship. Different cultures have different notions of what it means to be a friend. Describing people and how they spend their time. A very useful aspect of language is being able to describe yourself and others, both physically and in terms of personality, as well as different types of leisure activities. The third one is the cultural importance of sports and leisure activities. Different sports and leisure activities are appreciated around the world for different reasons. And the fourth is cultural inquiry and making comparisons. Understanding French and Francophone cultures is one of the most important skills we can have as French learners in order to gain important information and participate in conversations with people from these cultures. In addition, comparing another culture's trends to our own helps us to better understand not only the culture we are studying, but also our own. Down to student learning objectives. By the end of this unit, students will 1. Talk about notions of friendship in France and Switzerland versus the US and how they differ culturally. I threw Switzerland in here because I have a lot of family who live there, and so I try to include them in as many lesson plans as possible so that the students can get an authentic view of people from different countries, and we're able to do Skype conversations and things of the sort that students can gain a better understanding of the culture. Second, describe people's appearance and personality, concentrating on feminine adjectives. The third objective is for students to be able to talk about sports and leisure activities. The fourth is for students to compare French and American sports and leisure activities. And then the last one is for students to learn vocabulary and facts about the most popular sports across the Francophone world and how culture plays a large role in how popular a sport is in a given culture. I have some California content standards that are addressed in this unit. They have to do with content, communication skills, cultures, and structures. At the bottom, you can click to go to my class website. Here we are on the first lesson, which is the teacher lecture. The student learning objectives in lesson 1 are as follows. Students will be able to talk about notions of friendship in France and Switzerland versus the US and how they differ culturally. And then they will talk about sports and leisure activities. Students begin by viewing a Prezi presentation. And this presentation was adapted from a chapter book that I've used in the past called Chez Nous, Chapter 2. So most of the cultural information that I used in here, I adapted from this textbook. Here's just an example of some of the things that I put in here. Most are cultural, and they talk about the difference between how people view friendships in France and the US, how people seem to form friendships faster in the US than they do in France, and how friendships are formed over a very long period of time in France and also in many places in Europe. A lot of times you'll have childhood friends because people don't tend to leave the towns where they're from or go very far, so they have friendships that have developed over a long period of time, and they don't tend to consider people as friends so much as acquaintances, which is a little different from how we view friends here in the US. Some questions that are targeted toward the students. And then this presentation also gets into different types of leisure activities that are studied in the book. Some cultural information about the French and the leisure activities that they prefer. YouTube videos. This one has to do with what people like to do in the form of a song. Some more questions for the students to answer. Examples. And then it ends with a Socrative activity in the form of a formative assessment so that I have a good grasp of how much the students understood up to this point. And then this presentation is accompanied by guided notes. So here are some questions that the students need to answer. Think, pair, share. So pair with a partner and then discuss as a class. And then some practice activities, writing complete sentences, describing these different activities. Here we are at lesson 2, and lesson 2 is a Webersize. The student learning objectives for this lesson are as follows. Students will be able to compare French and American sports and leisure activities, and also learn vocabulary and facts about the most popular sports across the Francophone world and how culture plays a large role in how popular a sport is in a given culture. So here students have the opportunity to search the web, and they will search for le foot, so different facts about soccer, le Tour de France, and I even put Switzerland in there just because of family ties, and le tennis, le rugby, so rugby, le basket, basketball, and then a cultural comparison with favorite US pastimes. So a couple different articles that were written by authors about why Americans love baseball so much and why soccer is not nearly as popular in the US as it is in the rest of the world. Students need to agree or disagree and share their own opinions. And then I also include a lot of vocabulary building in this exercise. So in all of these websites, students need to choose useful vocabulary words that they can relate to their own lives. You see that in each section I have them do this. And then they will add the words that they find to a database that I create that I will adapt for part of their summative test at the end of the unit. Lesson 3 is a graphic organizer activity. The student learning objectives in this lesson are for students to be able to describe people's appearance and personality, concentrating on feminine adjectives. Here I have all of the directions for the graphic organizer project. And I have students use Popplet, which is a really awesome resource to organize the different vocabulary words that they are learning in cluster form. Here we see they need to include at least 10 images to illustrate the more difficult feminine adjectives. They need to organize their adjectives in a logical manner. They're working in partners, and each partner must contribute equally to the graphic organizer. I love that Popplet allows the instructor to see who did what, so you can kind of see how much each student contributed to the overall project. Give them a timeline, content standards, and a scoring guide. And then here at the bottom is an example of something a student might have done. So you'll see that there are adjectif pour les femmes, so feminine adjectives, and they're all grouped into different categories. Here we are at the assessment page of my website, and you'll see the assessment plan and summary. There are 2 entry-level assessments here, one involving brainstorming and the other looking at an image of a famous Francophone person and describing this person. This gives me an idea of what the students already know so that I can tailor my lesson as needed. Then some, 6 formative assessments and 2 summative assessments at the end. One involving a group presentation where students write and present a dialogue demonstrating their knowledge of Chapter 2 material, and then a test on feminine adjectives, cultural information, and also information about popular sports in the Francophone world. Here is my assessment plan summary. I posted my summative assessment, so all of the requirements for the group presentation, and also the formative assessment. One of them is a Socrative quiz, so it gives me an idea of where students are. Here we are at the unit resources page. Here I've posted some online resources. I've grouped them into a couple of categories. The first one is sites used to support the student learning objectives in this unit: Padlet, Socrative, Prezi, Quizlet, and About French. Also some useful sites about friendship and leisure activities. This is more of a resource for students who want to go further. And if I have some extra activities to do for students who seem like they can go a little bit further with the material, these are great websites. Most of them have to do with the cultural information in the unit. And then I have included some apps. Here we are at the unit plan template. And this is where I have posted the overview of my unit. We have already gone over everything briefly. The only thing that we did not talk about would be the lesson activities for each lesson that I presented. So I have some activities in here that are not actually posted on the website that I plan to do with the students. And you'll see that I have them for each lesson. These are all in addition to the formative assessments that are included. The unit resources and useful websites I have already discussed and are posted on the website. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.